Hi-Fi Smokes. Here we are. This is Nick and Jim, Hi-Fi Smoke Sessions. We're going to show off the bud real quick. Here we go. We got this nice little nugget from our local friends here. We call it the Dead Romeo strain. It's a new thing here. It seems pretty like, high, nice high midi, nice smell to it, a little fruity, but, crystalline and whatnot, as you can see. And we're going to start today's session off for the beginning song. Laura.
We're actually talking about 311.
Yes. Let's go on to 311. I mean,
of course, I got to thank you, Pandora. You guys are awesome. We're using your story for our show, and well, getting with 311 for beginning stages of my life was back in 1994. That one. But right here. I want to give a shout out to my friend, Matt, Cliff, my boy for life. Oh, you are. Anyways, about 311, I got kicked off on 93, 94. Music is out. My little introduction to friends. Back in elementary school, we used to trade tape and buddies. Name of those, Evans music. And I was caught on. Brought it, brought it home that night. And caught, played it, jammed out to it. And after a couple weeks, I picked it up. My uncle, spent time to a place called Last Unicorn up in New York. I know you're kind of familiar with the company. I was going there for, I would say, since the late 80s. Started branching in music. My uncle started bringing me there. And anyways, well, I picked up music. Then I started hearing through the grapevine, they're coming out with a new album. I was blown away by this. That one. It was this album.
No, that's the Grassroots. And then,
oh yeah, Grassroots came out. Yeah, you're right.
And then
that came that album. Well, that album right there was one. I'm sorry, I didn't add Grassroots was out at the time, but I heard music first. Anyways, it really started with me about 95, 96. I was a big 311 fan, man. I used to go out to Pittsburgh, PA, around that time, and I caught him at a tour. One of my first concerts as I was growing up was 311 with De La Soul. They played a fucking good set. They did Down, of course. They played a little off the music, Grassroots, and I was captivated. It was a birthday present from my mom, and that's what really got me going on 311. That's why I'm a fan to this day. I'm very excited about the new album coming out.
You know who got me into 311? But now that I'm thinking back, who got me into 311? I think it was not even a person, not like an individual person that I knew. I think it was just another band that got me into 311, I think, because I was listening to, at that time, when 311 first, came out, getting the circuit, I was listening to, Rage Against the Machine and, Tool and stuff at the time. So it was different because when they came in and I heard them, playing, I forget what they were playing with, but they did a show. That's how 311 came. Like, it was their music record, and then it was, but the music record had been out already for a minute. It was like right after Grassroots came out, so it was like right in that era, like, when they first came out. And, you know, it might have been through like Cypress Hill or somebody, so it might have been something like that. I heard about it through somebody else. Yeah, it was right around that time, and then I had listened to Omaha Sessions. That had got brought up. So I listened to like their first record after I'd already heard their other music. So yeah, I was around like probably 94.
You know?
Probably right around the time like Korn had started coming out and shit too, like Korn and Machine Head and stuff.
You know, getting on Korn, they were never Breaking Man
I
for
thought
me.
this was 311 session.
We're gonna go off topic, man. Like I said, getting on Korn, they was about 96, 97 when I heard of them. I was hooked. I mean, if you caught me back in the mid-90s, it was pretty much 311, Korn, Cypress Hill. I mean, I was still listening to shit from the 80s. A lot of hip-hop, you know, I grew up with. I could go on about that topic, but
I
hey,
think the first band
let's
that
stick with but yeah, Korn was another one that really topped my charts back in 96, 97, you know, with their breaking album, self-titled album that really caught on. I mean, mine was it was just, for that time, you didn't hear that type of heaviness. I mean, kids these days, they could go off and go, oh, yo, Suicide Silence and Behemoth and this and that. I know these bands from Norway and Finland, and they're pretty heavy. But you know, back in our day, back in the mid-90s, before there was YouTube, before the internet came around, kids, we gotta take this. You know how we got our shit? With some magazines, tapes.
and record
We heard on
stores and
the
shit.
radio.
Yeah.
That
Holy
was
fuck.
about it. And
Yeah,
a
we're
kid back
old.
then,
Oh my god.
as a kid back then, listening to stuff, it was epic. I mean, you guys may say, you know,
And
oh,
whatever the local
Korn,
radio
oh,
station
they're
was
nothing
playing.
now, blah, blah, yeah. But back then,
Remember that?
they were nothing like you ever heard before. We never heard that type of heaviness.
Did you remember that though? It was like our local radio stations, like whatever they would play, we'd be like, all right, cool, now we know what this is. But then, like, you know, you'd have different sessions at the radio time where midnight would come and like I was like 94.9 K Rock up in like upstate New York. They would have like a what the hell is that called? Sound of the Fury, and like that's where I found out about like I think that's where I first heard Korn actually was on one of those stations, and I think it was other bands besides them too. I think it was like the Deftones. First time I heard a Deftones song was on something like that. Much Music back then, like actually had music videos, and MTV had like at the time like Headbangers Ball, but that was like if you wanted to listen like.
Oh, you're going late 90s.
No, I'm talking about early when you had like when they had like.
Well, about early mid-90s, we started catching Headbangers Ball. But Headbangers Ball was more heavy metal, heavy rock. Back in its early prime, it didn't catch on to more the new metal sound, more death metal. It really, honestly, I would say it touched Korn in the later
That's where I
90s,
heard, like,
early 2000s, but it wasn't
if you wanted to
until
listen to that music,
more so
though,
like 2007, 2008, it started catching on to metalcore and whatnot.
but if you wanted to listen to like metal back then or people like 311, and you'd have to either know them through like a radio station would play them. I mean, it was rare when they did, but there was times when even Pantera like was getting played in the daytime on some like metal radio station.
Right.
So, yeah, they got
you would hear Walk quite a bit
and
on
like
camera.
Cowboys from Hell, like that stuff. But 311, I don't think it was until probably the 95 album, that Blue album, like the self-titled, like
Oh
the Blue
yeah,
album.
when Down came out as
And
a
like,
single.
and all mixed up and stuff like that, like Jack Lantern's Weather and stuff like that, or some shit like that. And like, but that was like their radio friendly stuff. Because before that, they were a lot of hip hop.
Yeah,
It was a lot of hip hop.
very
But it was,
oriented.
but it was heavy.
It was more.
And I think like, if you want to talk with the 311 era, there was a lot of bands that came out of that era. Like, you know what I mean? There's these choking guys. I see, like, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, if you wanted to talk about, like, 311 era, there was, like, Red Hot Chili Peppers were kind of fire right around that. That's when they were kind of really blowing up. Rage Against the Machine, Pearl Jam, I mean, you had Alice in Chains, Stone Cold Pilots, Soundgarden, you had the grunge era. You had Cypress Hill and like Punk and Pain kind of doing their thing, and then obviously vice versa to what they're doing now. So you had a wide range. There's a wide range of music back then.
I really gotta say, the 90s had to be the most experimental era in music, especially for metal, especially. Back in the 80s, when I was growing up, I grew up in '83, so I was hearing Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and I mean, Zeppelin, if you hear the early stuff, I was debating with Vic here earlier, that Zeppelin did hold some heavy metal elements in their beginning songs, and that's what I was listening to. You know, hearing Pantera in the 80s was very rare. I mean, you really didn't. You kind of had to know who they were to really listen to
But
them.
even the 90s, because you think when the
But the 90s really was starting to get more.
But we still
I mean,
had
with the
Rush of the 80s.
experimental of metal, they started showing. Metallica was doing some did a thrash metal album. Was it kind of thrash metal in the later 80s?
And then they went like totally like.
Yeah, they flip-flop
Commercial rock
their
music.
shit around. I'm sorry, guys. Any of you guys Metallica fans, you better represent, like, Ride the Lightning, Loaded, excuse me.
That was when they went rocky, like it was like
I mean,
shit. That was
way
alright,
before
Master of Puppets.
Master
stuff like
Puppets,
that.
another one. If you rock those, okay. But now, no.
That's the only Metallica record I ever liked, was Master of Puppets. Everything
I like
else-
Ride the Lightning.
I liked some of Ride the Lightning, but I wasn't ever really a big Metallica fan because of like there's a lot of different reasons. It wasn't really my thing. And then like there's other bands that were cool, like Pantera when they first came out, like Jesus. Like, I remember when I first started listening to them, I was like, wow.
Yeah, Pantera was like, I was like, holy shit. I mean, understanding the heaviness, you know, along with like the Agony and Helmet, I might add, I did catch them back then. But it wasn't in my current, you know, everyday typical listening. You know, once in a while I hear a song. I was listening to Bob Seger too back then.
Like Fear Factory.
But another big
That's my everyday
influence,
play.
strange influence that really I was into way back in the early 80s, 90s. More so the 90s, I got into the pop and R&B. I was into hip hop a lot. Loved Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. I mean, that's where I really started, was hip hop. I liked rock music.
Like, I just haven't heard this song in a long time.
I mean, back then, like, hip hop was my thing. I just loved the flow. I didn't live in the ghetto at the time. I didn't know what, you know, people, you know, when you're growing up, when you're like around 5, 6, at that time it was a nice area I was living in, so I had life good up until I was say about my mid-20s, but that's your talk.
Oh, too, you know
Wait,
what's
I
weird?
mean, back then, type of music, I was like, I'm not seeing this.
But I hear about these people talk about sell drugs, smoke pot, drink beer, yada yada yada. Just love it. I didn't know who, didn't give a shit about what they were saying. I was just all about beat that Snoop Dogg, Dre, Easy, Roddy, you know, all, you know, who got me on it. You know, on the would actually run the
By the way, guys, we're actually at 311, but I talked about.
this is the
Yes,
smoke
this is gonna be
session
our-
about. Smoke session is essentially about, if you guys are still watching, this is essentially about talking about, you know, throw your comments out there. If you want us to do like certain, you know, certain shows, bands, or genres, feel free to. We want to hear.
Even their
We
band.
want your input. If
Even
you
their
got,
vocal.
you want to show up, send me your information files. We'll play you during the show. We'll get you. My boy right here is Dead Romeo. Dead Romeo is very, I wouldn't say up and coming anymore. A lot of people up in Europe. The producer in DJ world. He does a lot of trance, dubstep, hip hop. He's starting to get into now. We're hearing a little, and here is early.
Oh my
He
god.
does
A lot of Anthony.
called really atmospheric right now. Very whatever. The mids was coming out with some very very
Like I like this first.
I love this song right here. I mean, My Hero, lyrically, to me, this song right here,
No, I like
captivates me as like,
the Foo Fighters.
everybody
I never
in
did
their
like
right mind believes in something. Whether you claim yourself as an atheist, I gotta put this out there. Whether you claim yourself as an atheist or whatever, you still have something to believe in. And this song right here, I gotta say, it just captivates you in the right state of mind to feel that there is a Superman or a Batman out there in the world, you know, that can save you. And it's just, the Foo Fighters really have done it.
Dave Grohl.
They're,
Dave Grohl is kind of like one of those guys. You know, you have people that come in music like Trent Reznor and stuff like that they've been in it for a while, and now they're doing. You know, they still have their bands. You know, they're still Foo Fighters. They're still Nine Inch Nails. I mean, obviously Dave Grohl comes from the Nirvana era.
right.
But
I want to say something on the song, though.
hold on. I think that he's just one of those guys. You know, he's got a name in music, so now he can do whatever he wants right now. But you do still see the Foo Fighters put records out and touring and whatever.
Yeah.
They do all the bigger festivals though, so I mean, obviously the popularity of that band. Same with Nine Inch Nails. Remember, Trent Reznor is another Maynard. And Maynard, Maynard from Tool. You know, Perfect Circle, Foo Fighters, and all that.
I gotta add something about Tool. And Maynard's Mind. I don't know if you guys ever believe this or think about this, but if you read, get back on the lyrically, Maynard from Tool has some very sadistic lyrics. I mean, I'm not talking about his radio stuff, kids. I'm talking about the shit that's on the albums that are before, like Undertow and all that. If you really think about what goes through that man's mind, it's very sadistic, very intelligent.
I grew up with
Goes
him.
on
That was
some
somebody that I
theories.
listened to a lot.
They're just beyond the human comprehension. I mean, He is very psychological, I will add, in his lyrics, and somewhat spiritual too. Um, it depends on what you refer to as spiritual. Everybody has their own reference to that. I give it that. But I'm speaking more of a Christian sense here. Um, spiritual man, spirituality I understand from him is, he speaks on the soul. And he speaks on what the soul can do. Is it the soul is another entity is itself, where it can touch reality, but um, man-made and inanimate objects to such an extent that the little person, oh, this song's cool, but they don't understand the depthness of it. And there, he holds a lot of deep in it, so I give him a lot of credit. I must say that.
No, I did like, I was a lot of cool music. And then really after, I mean, there was some stuff I didn't really, later years that I didn't really like. And then like Perfect Circle came out. So again, like it was actually cool because they weren't, it wasn't Tool obviously, but it was, the brain of Tool. Like, the backbone kind of being another band. But I still did like Perfect Circle. I still do. I just influenced the new like live album with the new song on it. Yeah, so this really seems wild. But no, it's other people around that time too that were that song. Look at but it was in like Bob Marley and stuff. But my dad listened to like Bob Marley. So like, it was around, like I heard it, whatever. When I was growing up, I didn't really. It just sounded cool to me. Like it sounded cool, so I didn't. Whatever it sounded, that's how I got into like 99% of the shit that I'm into now. And like, it was. I didn't really know what the fuck they were talking about at the time. I was young. I was like 6 years old.
Right.
But it sounded cool, and my mom didn't like it. So
you had that rebellious attitude.
But I did, but I liked it. Like, there's some of it that, like, my mom got me into, like, Janis Joplin, and I even, like, listened to, like, Lance Morissette growing up, like, because it was around me all the time. I didn't like it.
But you knew it.
And I knew it, but I didn't tear it down. Like Prince and stuff like that. I did not like that music particularly, like.
But it was around.
But it was around me, so I enjoyed it because it was something different than what I was listening to, and it still sounded nice. But there's just some bands like I got into growing up that, like Pantera, like even Ozzy Osbourne, I listened to that. And the Red Hot Chili Peppers were doing like absurd shit back then, and so it's something my mom didn't like. Really, she's like, this is ridiculous. Like, no way, not happening type attitude. My dad was cool with it because he was getting me into that shit. Like, he was getting me into like the Pearl Jam and the Stone Temple Pilots, and So I guess there were people that influenced me to listen to music, but when I chose my own path of like what I listen to today, it's off what I like. Like, because you would not see my dad listen to like the Deftones or even Korn. My dad, I used to play that shit around me. My dad didn't like it. Like, he just didn't understand it. He was obviously, his generation was, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and The Doors and, Grateful Dead to me is another band as well. I'm a big Grateful Dead fan because it's something that's always been around me. So yeah, I guess that too. Like Bob Marley, that was something like that was obviously something that I got into kind of on my own.
Uninfluenced. I mean, like I said prior, the 80s, I was into hip hop and shit. My uncle really caught me on to the rock scene. And when I was a young kid, I didn't have. My mom was like, "You play whatever the fuck you want." And I was playing like, all right, I'm talking 8, 9 years old. You know, hey, you kids probably know this. Right, this shit still goes on to this day. Playing Snoop Dogg's Dog Pound. You know what I'm saying? Being 8, 9 years old, hearing fucking bitches and all that shit. And I was like, whatever. He's listening to it. He probably has no idea what the fuck they're saying. And they have no comprehension. Don't care. But at the time, you know, she was right. I was about the beat, the sound, the, you know, hearing guitars from Zeppelin and Seeger, Floyd, Stone, REM. I gotta say, I might add,
Yeah, I guess I heard the Rolling
huge
Stones a lot.
influence from my uncle. My uncle transversed me into like the Bird Pipe, REM, Black Cloud Radio. He brought me into it.
I like the Bird Pipe.
Now,
Yeah.
when I was doing my
It's good
thing,
stuff.
I was coming off as like, so I'm gonna play some Run DMC, some EBE. I was into that like gangster shit. You know what I'm saying? I was into rap, hip hop. I loved it. And he was like, "Oh, here's some REM," and it just really REM was probably one of my starters for like rock. I mean, if I probably didn't listen to REM in the early '80s, I probably wouldn't listen to rock. I mean, I was
You know what
jamming out
band
to
influenced me?
E.
Like big on
I
metal?
would catch on. I picked up a Life Agony tape one time. Just used to go in and say, "Yo, pick out a tape or two." I'm talking mid '80s, Nick. I'm talking mid '80s, early '90s. You let me pick out a tape of the week. Well, one of them was like that. I was listening to Life Agony, I think about '88, '89.
Didn't come out after. Did.
There was an album I can't remember the name. I'm going way back in my
Like
mind.
Typo Negative, I think, was that time. Like, they're like part of each other. Typo Negative.
Helmet too. I picked up one week.
Yeah, Meantime.
It was
the
just
first album.
random. Hey,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna play this. This kind of sounds pretty cool. I'm gonna jam out to this for a little bit. I mean, but I got to say, he was like, I really liked REM in the early '80s.
See,
It
this
really,
is what got me though.
that was one of my major influences for getting into rock. It's like I said, my mom, hold up. My mom at the time was listening to a lot of R&B, you know, and I was one of those kind of kids who like, yeah, you guys are listening to some cool shit, but I want to hear something different. And then I got invited into other, you know, hey, I'm going to go pick this up. I'm going to see what it sounds like. Snoop Dogg, who's this? I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna go home and play it. My uncle had purchased it for me, you know what I mean? He didn't know who Snoop Dogg was. I didn't know who Snoop
Yeah,
Dogg
like I remember
but I'm
buying
sitting
it.
here listening, you know, 8, 9 years old. Yo, fuck bitches, smoke weed, drinking gin, juice, hood. And I'm like, what's the hood?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hood
Yeah.
is, but I like the
Yeah.
beat. And it's crazy. Like, kids, I gotta say, back then, music did not influence us into violence and doing dumb shit.
Wow.
If they claim us to be. We didn't know what the fuck that drinking gin and juice. I was like drinking Kool-Aid and thinking, yo, I'm drinking Kool-Aid to Snoop Dogg. I'm gangster. All right? I'm 6 years old, 7 years old. I'm gangster drinking Kool-Aid to Snoop Dogg.
I think I wanted to be in a
I
gang
didn't
when I was
know,
younger.
but I'm saying
Like I
it
did.
didn't. I mean, I also had alcohol. My parents were all drinking all the time. I didn't touch it. It was nasty. Because they, you know, they offered it to me. I tried it back when I was a kid. I'll
This
admit,
is
I
supposed
won't
to be a
hate.
music session, like
But, you know,
smoke session. We've been talking about the weirdest shit for 30 minutes. Like,
I mean, just saying about the late 80s, you
we're
know,
on
kids,
29 minutes and 13 seconds.
listen to the
Just
beat,
spitting
don't
fire
listen to
about
the lyrics,
shit.
unless you understand what the lyrics mean. I gotta
And
add that.
these beats are fire
But
on
yeah.
here, coming out on here. Good.
I mean, REM was, you know, one of my
311
rock guys.
Pandora station. Like, if you want to listen to some good shit,
Yeah.
they've been playing some bangers. Like, good
Alright.
tunes.
But,
It's that smoke out shit.
what was one of your big influences for rock? Like, what really got you into rap music? were you into rock music from the get-go, or were you into
Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton?
Um,
I was just, yeah.
probably that and probably like Alice in Chains, stuff like that. Like that's when I first started listening. I mean, that's a weird big, big difference, when you have Eric Clapton and fucking Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's other stuff in between, even Metallica.
I mean, hey, I
But I
gotta
didn't
say,
like that stuff, but I didn't like it.
REM to Pantera. All right, go from there. Pantera was my second one. I picked up randomly. I think it was like 88, 89. I picked up a tape, and I was like, Pantera, this tape looks cool. This looks awesome. And I was like, I went for graphics back then, because there was another thing that really kept me in music. Right? It was graphics. What is it? What did the front look like? Alright? I didn't know who the fuck you were.
No,
But I
no,
brought
it was
your
good.
tape home and I listened to you. And then I started like, yo, I want to find more stuff out like this. You know what I'm saying? And then that just drove me further and further. And back in the mid '90s, it turned into London. I listened to some shit like this.
I think
Pretty
it
cool,
was.
but it's something new, fresh.
I think it was a transition from when Korn first came out. Everybody's like, yo, this shit's so heavy. And at the time, I'm thinking like, all right, awesome, new heavy music.
Right.
And I listened to it. My first impression on that band was just like, okay. But then it was like that first single. I'm like, god damn, like that's pretty crazy. But then I was like, yeah, but there's heavier shit already that's out there. So Korn, all they're doing is they put like the hip hop element in there a little bit and then in there. But that was what that's what they pioneered, like the sound that they really, not really maybe pioneered, but the one that stepped up and actually did something.
Right.
Because 311 was out technically before them. Rage Against the Machine was out before them. You had different, like Run DMC, I think it was Aerosmith or something that did that. Or Anthrax
Oh,
or
that was
somebody else.
dope. That was back
Yeah,
in
in
like
the 80s.
87,
So they were already experimenting with the sound. But I think it was bands like Korn, even 311, because after Korn had kind of did their thing, 311 was starting to get noticed because they were doing a sound like that. But I think they just needed a band that Korn pushed it out there more. But then you had bands like the Deftones that
Okay,
maintained.
if you want to get back and get around the era of Korn, the Deftones, Incubus,
And then Incubus and Head PE and shit.
Head P, yeah, around that era,
Even Sugar Ray, dude, was in that
Sugar
crowd
Ray
band.
was doing his thing. Yes,
Like, that band was doing their thing. Like,
they
were
were
in there.
they were pretty heavy. They started out as a metal band. Another one, believe it or not, is not many people know this. I actually know them from their early times, and I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Excuse me for a second here. The Goo Goo Dolls. Yes,
Yeah, they used to be heavy.
I'm from upstate New York. He, so they came from Buffalo. So I was hearing, who they were back then, and they were fucking heavy. That's really, I still jam to them. They're new, they're mainstream shit. But if you really listen to them from where they really started, believe it or not, the Goo Goo Dolls were really heavy, and they were really good. They came out from Buffalo back in the late '80s. And, we heard them.
Oh, no, I heard.
That
I heard about it, like, when I actually went through that phase, like, the Goo Goo Dolls, Ben Folds 5, like, Collective Soul, the Verb Pipe, like, yeah. And, like, even Blue Straggler and, like, Counting Crows, I think, were in that crop of, like, I was listening to a lot of the indie stuff, like, I still like, the Counting Crows, like, Dave Matthews Band. Like, I was going on a thing, for a while, I was stuck on just, like, indie indie rock thing because I've been listening to like the heavier music for a while before there was Korn, before there was like the Deftones. So after listening to the Deftones and Korn and all that shit for like 3-4 years solid, I stopped listening to that for a while because I was picking up on modern rock bands, like more the indie rock bands you call them now, but like Count Crows. But they've been out for a little bit. Dave Matthews Band, but I wasn't listening to them like that.
We were out on the radio. Oh my God, Dave Matthews Band back in abroad would hear nothing but songs. I am not one good with pipe. I'm not, but
Under the Table and Dreaming, that album, I mean, the radio album got was insane. You just heard nothing but their singles of it, like, every day. And
Counting Crows had that. Yeah, they must do that. What's it called? That shit was on the radio stations. But it had moved to rock stations, bigger radio stations. And then the Goo Goo Dolls switched that sound and went to that, like, sound that those bands would do.
what it is now, and, you know, the mainstream, what I call them, pop radio stations, were catching that alternative sound. It was just
hip-hop and R&B and shit. It is now. It used to be. Rock used to be.
well over, you would hear,
Well,
the pop radio stations. Back in the early, mid-90s.
Social networking back then, obviously, with how they were doing it, which is like,
Well, that's how,
like pushing
I mean,
their sound to different crowds. You know, because Ozfest and Warp's Festival mix. Everybody, not everyone, not no. But they have like all that shit for like, well, or
yeah, today it's still going on. But I mean, the way I got net music was going to restaurants, now random shit. And then soon turned into school, crazy tapes. Like, hey, I got 3 days Nimrod. Oh, cool, I haven't heard that yet. And, you know, and that's what we used to call social network. Right there, kids. I could go on the internet and go to, and I could go get an album real quick, and oh wait, I got 2 weeks before it came out, fucking, you can't do that shit, but, you know, the first time I ever got an album before it was released was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
I had a buddy of mine back then that was
My first
actually
CD was the
knew who
Program
Hybrid Theory
Turnout.
was. This kid walked around school going, people, hey, listen to this, listen to this.
Why don't you put that in there?
Okay.
No, it's not.
So, anyways, he was like going out to people. And I knew him, he was a good friend of mine. He was like, dude, you gotta listen to this Hybrid Theory shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I knew about the Beastie Boys back then, and Primus, and, you know, Korn kind of did their thing, and I'm like, whoa, this is really,
Yeah, but I'm saying,
whoa.
like, if you
And
want,
then, we had a store called, I'm sorry, I can't remember the store's name, but it was right next to Capitol Theater in Rome, New York.
oh, yeah, I bought some
In
stuff.
the late 90s, early 2000s, if anybody remembers that name, please comment it. Anyways, I used to hang around their store. I was known to freak record stores most of my life growing up. You know, that's my new music. And anyways, guy goes, hey, I got this Linkin Park album. Yeah, it was like, Linkin Park, who the fuck is that? And I said, Hybrid Theory, wait, my buddy was pushing around this Hybrid Theory
Yeah, I
band.
listened to
Is
Linkin
this
Park.
the same thing? And he goes, I don't know. I just got this album in. And this was 2 weeks before they almost released. And he was like, yo, you want it? And I was like, sure, you know, $10. I popped it in. Well, I got home and I'm like, this sounds similar to Hybrid Theory. It wasn't until later I discovered they were actually the same thing. They just switched names. Believe it or not, Hybrid Theory was Linkin Park, or, you know what I'm saying? Hybrid Theory was used to be Linkin Park's old name. And I didn't find that out
I never
until
liked
later
that.
on. But, I mean, hearing Linkin Park, and they were just captivating at the time. And I really pressed people. I did the same thing with my buddies. I went out and pressed a Linkin Park album. And people at first were like, who the fuck is this? I don't like this.
Yeah.
I like my Red Hot Chili Peppers and Beastie Boys. Nah, I'm not messing with this shit. This is too heavy. And believe it or not, they come out with their single and everybody go, yo, Linkin Park, Linkin Park, Linkin Park. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I gotta do a shout out to my boy Vito. You were a major Linkin Park fan. You were there in the early times, I remember, man. You knew what the fuck they were. Yo, props. Anyways,
I didn't like those guys that much.
but Linkin Park was like one of those, I press people and all of a sudden you get on the radio and everybody's like, what the fuck is that? That really pissed me off. I guess.
No, I didn't. Like when Korn came out and stuff, when Machine Head came out, I liked Machine Head better than I did Korn Head for a minute. Because when it came to heavier music, I was already listening to heavy shit. Like Pantera was the heaviest thing on the fucking planet. Like that was they were the toughest.
You was the guy.
I mean, there was nobody heavier at the
Yeah,
time.
it's so funny.
I mean, yeah, there was the 6 Feet Under and like Camel Corpse and like Death and bands like that.
Sepultura.
Sepultura, yeah, I forgot about those guys. And like Fear Factory, but it was Pantera that stuck out like above those bands.
Well, Pantera was
And they were heavy as fuck, dude. There's not
one
one
of the
thing they didn't have that
pioneers
wasn't heavy.
of, you know, what we consider metal. I mean, like I was saying about Led Zeppelin earlier, you heard, it's not like, yo, I'm gonna go play Led Zeppelin 1, and you're gonna hear it straight off the bat. You gotta sit there and have the understanding of, wow, for this time, this is heavy. You know what I mean? I mean, being a kid, when I was in my younger days, I would say Pantera was as brutal as it could get. It wasn't until, you know, middle school and such, I really heard heavier.
I mean, no, there was other bands.
I mean, I knew 6 Feet Under. You know, I came
Fear Factory
across
to
the
me was
names,
Fear Factory to me was a
um,
lot heavier. And Typo Negative, but they were with Typo Negative, they were heavy. I mean, they toured Pantera. I mean, so they had the same like elements of heaviness. But then there was bands like you had the stick that were stuck in there too, like Primus. Like you would see them go on tour with those bands,
right?
Because
you
they
would
didn't
see
really,
Rage Against the Machine playing with Primus
like Pearl Jam and shit.
and Pearl Jam and Korn. And you know, back in the '90s, that was what's up. I would love to do a video on Woodstock. We should do a video on
I guess
Woodstock.
that, yeah, Woodstock 99 was like, I guess like
I mean, just to bring
the frontiers
Great.
of like what was going on, but there was no
Yeah.
Pearl Jam on that. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I think they played like 94 Woodstock, I guess, right?
Yeah, they played
And
94.
Green Day played that back then, but
Yeah.
and then you didn't see them in '99. But like Green Day was doing shit like
Right.
all those years after, and they're same with like Stone Temple Pilots. Like, I mean, obviously, I think at the time with Stone Temple Pilots, I think there was like that Scott Weiland drug problem, and like they weren't doing anything. So I don't think
I
obviously.
think actually Stone Temple Pilots were supposed to play Woodstock.
I did hear something like that float around.
I think he was like rehab or something to make it.
I mean, they were missing bands. I think there's a
Or the goal would have been too much for Weiler. I mean,
not even have Pantera on Woodstock was weird too, because that live album had just came out a year before that.
right.
So they were on like touring, and then they had a new album come out the next year in 2000. so I didn't see why Pantera didn't get a spot on there either. But there were some bands, Seven Dust even got a spot, which was...
Seven Dust played. I mean, I saw Godsmack.
And Godsmack, too, like
Rage
bands.
Against the Machine, Korn, Metallica.
Yeah.
These were all bands.
Collective Soul.
Collective Soul. These were all bands
Sugar Ray.
that, at that
Ice
time,
Cube.
it was amazing to see all in one lineup.
DMX. Like,
DMX.
Lance Morissette, Jewel.
Everclear.
Yeah, Jewel.
Speaking of Everclear, I was a huge... At that time, 99, Everclear was my favorite group.
I think in 1999, I'm not going to lie either, like, this is the honest, God's honest
I
truth.
mean...
In 1999, my favorite band, I'm not even kidding you, there was probably two of them actually. It was Korn, for sure, 100% for sure. 99, Korn is my shit. And I'm thinking it was the Deftones, but it was Incubus too. Because I was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, there's all this crazy music coming out, and I'm like, oh my god, like these bands are like, not even. Limp Bizkit was not one of them either. I liked them, but I didn't. Well, whatever. They had some good shit.
Oh, Limp Bizkit.
Like, $3 Billy All was a dope ass album.
Ooh.
Like, and then even what was their other one? Significant Other? Or,
yeah,
the second one. That one wasn't even that bad. But it was after that I was like, yeah, they're played out now.
They had hot dog flavor.
Yeah, they had some other bullshit. Yeah.
It was a bullshit album. I remember they did. I practiced DMX on there.
And Method Man.
Method Man. They had a nice one, but it was...
That Rolling track.
Rolling, yeah, that was it. It was a big hit.
That was on Significant Other, though.
No. Rolling was on flavored
Hot
water,
dog
whatever the fuck it is.
I know.
Chocolate starfish and a hot dog flavored water.
Like
That's
some
it.
bullshit. Like,
It was chocolate starfish and hot dog flavored water. That album.
Incubus. Right here on 311 Pandora. Nice.
Limp Bizkit. I'm sorry. Yeah, Limp Bizkit back in '99 was what's up. Like, when I saw them on Woodstock, they were fucking awful. Oh, holy shit. I mean, I was somewhat quite a distance when Fred Durst jumped out on the board. He was actually board surfing. My boy got to shake hands with him and shit, but I was too far away, but I saw this. It was pretty fucking epic. I mean, they were just fucking insane. I mean, the people were just never stopped moving, and God, the drugs they were on. Holy shit.
But I think too that was like the first. That wasn't the first. Woodstock was the reinvented Woodstock, whatever the fuck you want to call it. There are other festivals already doing that, but only for certain genres. Lollapalooza was like a mix. Like they would have a mixed genre.
Yeah, they were this big. Woodstock was...
Ozfest is huge, right around they were huge right around that time. Warped Tour was big. I remember Ozfest and Warped Tour came together for in like '98 for like one show. And that was when the Deftones were on Warped Tour that summer. They played the Ozfest thing, and then the next year headlined Ozfest. Incubus, same with them. They were on '98 Ozfest, which was weird.
Oh, yeah.
It was weird how that like worked out. Like both those bands, and then the next year they're headlining it. But Cold Chamber was on that year's Ozfest too, and they were new.
I want to say something about Woodstock though.
So there's other festivals doing other things, but genre-wise.
Right.
Yeah.
But I got to say something on Woodstock here. It was 69 and 99. 2 years to really keep a record. I mean, they did the whole thing in 94. It wasn't that big. They tried to pull it off. It didn't really work. It worked, but 99 was really, I gotta say, was the biggest.
That was the height of the whole rap metal thing.
And that's where really, right now, as it stands, watching this video, it's 2014, still have not seen a dog, and the damage that was done in rural New York, at the scale, we will never hold another one.
was being for and the insanity. The drugs that were pushed upon me. Hey, no, I was 15 at
Yeah, we should let this session and for a minute and then start. I mean, it's out while we're going to cut out. So,
Alright.
This session, yes, but this, the next one will be particular.
Like I was trying to say earlier, we're gonna have certain videos of where we want to topic. You know, which is what thoughts or opinions or experiences on that. But like I said, Woodstock, not, you know, one of the most epic things in my life. I mean, big guy, that drummer country name was incredible. I love it so much. It was just, wow. It was, I gotta say, one of the most epic things in music history, especially for me. You know, being there, seeing everything.
you know, if you want to smoke all this
But,
stuff, you want to smoke the good stuff.
But anyway, we're gonna do the smoke section right now. We'll come back later. We don't know where we're gonna have, you know, always checking, you know, checking. Well, always posting our videos as soon as we can. After you guys have a good time, enjoy, smoke up. Till next time.
Ah, yeah. We smoking 105. Alright, let's put this up.
Yeah, we're just gonna be random. You know, we're gonna set what we got, and we're gonna take it back. So guys, tune in next time. We're out. Peace.